Welcome back to Black News Tonight. The bans against the teaching of critical race theory, or what's assumed to be critical race theory, continue to cause serious ripple effects. In Florida, for example, the teaching of history in an objective and factual manner might soon, sadly, become a relic of the past. According to NBC News, the Osceola County School District, it's located right outside of Orlando, last week canceled a seminar for teachers. Organized by the National Council for History Education, the seminar was named the Long Civil Rights Movement, highlighting how the movement began decades before and continued long after the days of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 3 days before it was scheduled to take place, the lecture series was put on hold out of concern that the topic would raise red flags with the review committee, which has recently been established to examine if any training program contains critical race theory. With me now is the lead scholar of the canceled seminar series, Dr. J. Michael Butler. He is Kenan Distinguished Professor of History at Flagler College and the author of Beyond Integration, the Black Freedom Struggle in Escambia County, Florida, 1960 to 1980. Welcome to the show, Professor. What's going on in Florida? Tell me about this presentation. What was the reason that they wanted to cancel it?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me on the program, Mr. Hill. I really appreciate the chance to be able to tell this story because the entire time that this has played out, one of the things that I've reiterated is that if they can ban the teaching of one seminar on Black history in Florida, they can start to prohibit the teaching of all Black history topics in all states. And that's truly frightening. For those of us who are dedicated to teaching historical truths and emphasizing the African American perspective, which is fundamental to the American experience. Basically, what we were told is that the seminar itself, which, as you said, was intended for K through 8 teachers in preparation in part for Black History Month, my job as the lead scholar was to provide historical content. And one of the things that I wanted to stress in the presentations, I had 3 different presentations, and they were to do exactly what you outlined, to demonstrate that the civil rights movement did not end or begin with Dr. King. Dr. King is an important figure. He's a seminal figure. He's a figure that all students can relate to. But the civil rights movement, the long civil rights movement, began really as soon as emancipation occurred and continues to this very day. But the title itself, the long civil rights movement, was the only thing that the school district had as an excuse to vet the materials, which they never asked for my materials, and I never talked to anyone from the county. They just made a determination to postpone and ultimately cancel the seminar simply based on the topic of the civil rights movement.
That's fascinating. So they didn't give you the opportunity to even sort of engage in a conversation about your materials, which seems problematic. But the fact that they're vetting your materials in this way also seems strange to me. Is there the idea that Dr. King didn't start or end the civil rights movement isn't a controversial claim? I mean, he sat at the feet of people. The night before this March on Washington, August 28 of 1963, W.E.B. Du Bois dies. So there's a very clear trajectory here that's easy to note. So it seems to me that there's something else going on here, right? And I have to ask the question, what do you think they were looking for? Do you think it was in good faith? And what kind of excuse did they use to justify their choice?
You know, I can't speak concerning their intent because, quite frankly, I don't know what the intent was. Like I said, I never talked to anyone from the school district. In a second correspondence that the district sent to the teachers, because the first just simply said that it had been postponed. When news of the cancellation for reasons of quote unquote red flags broke, the teachers justifiably demanded an explanation. And in the email that was sent from the school superintendent to the teachers, it did say that due to the ongoing conversations about critical race theory in our community and in our state, we had to make this decision. My fear, Mr. Hill, is that this manufactured boogeyman in our public schools of critical race theory is being used as a weapon against the teaching of any Black history. And that just reinforces that, as a country, when we say we love history, I really question whether we love history or we love nostalgia. Because
Hmm.
you try to, if you try to eliminate the Black perspective, then you're not telling the total truth about America, its history, and most importantly, how the past continues to inform the present.
You make a great point, and that's the point that I think many people are pushing back against. Some people think it's a pedantic point to say, well, this isn't critical race theory, right? Critical race theory is a body of legal scholarship that emerged a few decades ago, and that is largely isolated to law schools and some graduate schools.
That's right.
But that's not the point, right? It's not just to say that this isn't what it is. It's to say that the use of the term critical race theory as an overarching concept and construct now says, well, if we can make CRT the boogeyman and we can call everything about race CRT, to your point, then we don't have to teach anything about race. And that seems to be a very intentional thing because they're afraid of something. What are they afraid of? Or maybe not afraid. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Why are they so committed to not teaching race at all in schools, in your estimation?
In my estimation, it is the politicization of history. When the term fake news was used, I told my students to be on the watch because fake history is next. Anything that makes people uncomfortable, uneasy, anything that doesn't reinforce a narrative of American exceptionalism makes people uncomfortable. The point of history is not to make people feel comfortable. It's to cause reflection. It's to cause critical thinking. It's to engage us in hard conversations about who we are and how we got here. The unknown is always a fear. And the way to combat the unknown is not to prevent the spreading of knowledge. That's kind of ridiculous. So, what are they afraid of? Well, number one, the the legislative campaign against critical race theory has been deliberately vague. I challenge your viewers and anyone who hears this interview, when someone says they're anti-critical race theory, ask them to define it. Odds are they really can't. So the deliberately vague ban against critical race theory has the effect of frightening teachers to death. I referred to a climate of fear that has been created. And I'm not making that up, Mr. Hill. I say that there's a climate of fear because teachers have reached out to me to inform me there is a climate of fear. I have had teachers reach out
Yeah.
and ask, how can I teach Black history when I'm afraid? I'm afraid of any backlash that may come against me and my livelihood. One of the things, too, Mr. Hill, that I think is really important for politicians to consider is that in Florida particularly, but throughout the nation, there is a teacher shortage. And my best history students, white students, Hispanic students, African American students who love this history and are fascinated by it, do not want to go into the teaching profession. They see what's going on and they ask, do I really want
Right.
to go
Or
into a field?
right.
And,
No, I was just going to
these
say,
are our best students.
or the wrong people go into it, Professor. So the people who are inclined to talk about difference, who are and inclined to have a critical perspective, people who are inclined to offer a counter to the nostalgia that you talk to, those people are going to say, "Whoa, this public education isn't a safe space for that." The person who wants to tell myths, the person who wants to sort of be inclined to ignore race talk or to think that Black people came, marched, and won without any struggle and all through the acts of Martin Luther King exclusively, those people will stay. And so we end up sort of taking the most important voices in the conversation and marginalizing them further. So I totally get where you're coming from. I totally see your point. And I'm sorry this happened to you, but you got to keep us posted on what happens if you ever do get invited back and what's going on the ground, both at your college, but also in the schools where this series was supposed to take place. Professor, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for your insightful comments. Always good to talk to you.